So please be settled and ready to welcome Rinpoche to our Zoom. For different language translation, we have English, Vietnamese, Chinese, and Japanese room. Please select your own language to come in your language room to hear the teachings. English is the main room. So for English speakers, you do not need to choose any room. Just remain there. Please turn off your audio button during the retreat until there is a request from organizer to ask you to turn on the audio. For the people in the panelists, you can turn on your video during the retreat so that Garchen Rinpoche can see you. But please turn off your audio. If you have any question or need any assistance, please type in the chat box and there will be the people from organizer to help you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome, Dozin Dundrup Rinpoche.
I see you here. Now we waiting Guru. Welcome, Guru.
이바위 상가 다시 되래 돌들 못해 다시 되래
Tashi Delek, Garchen Rinpoche, and Tashi Delek, the Venerable Dozin Dundrup Rinpoche, on behalf of the organizer, Drikung Garchen Phuntsok Choling, and all participants of the second online 100 million money retreat, we would like to say Tashi Delek to His Eminent Garchen Rinpoche. We are and Venerable Dozin Dundrup Rinpoche. We are so fortunate to have you to bestow the precious 1,000 arm Chenrezig empowerment today, and then the teaching on 4 yogas of Mahamudra during the retreat in the following days. On this occasion, we would like to thank you, His Eminent Garchen Rinpoche and Venerable Dozin Dundrup Rinpoche, who will together jointly leading the money retreat. It is very auspicious opportunity and we thank you, Guru, very much. We are now all ready to receive His Eminent Garchen Rinpoche research, instruction, and empowerment. Thank you.
We'll begin with the opening prayers in the Yellow Prayer Book on page 1. All Mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Mandala offering. An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms, if I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine. By offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping. Completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and concepts of arising, cessation, and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The Supreme Mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may I be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Deva Da Kini Ratna Mandala Prakticha Swaha. Namo. To the Guru, the utter purity of all appearance and existence, I offer all appearance and existence arisen as the primordial ground. I supplicate you. May the 3 realms be completely liberated. Please grant blessings to empty samsara from its depths. Lord with 5 omniscient wisdoms, crown ornament, kind one with loving nature, precious protector of beings, heart of all Buddhas, inexpressible by words or thought, I supplicate you from the core of my mind. Bless me from within the state of Dharmata. Bless me to realize this mind, primordially pure and unborn as the unfathomable Dharmakaya. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the greater and lesser vehicles and the teachings common to both according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Semchi tamchelo sabata jiwa sabat semi bal semchi tamchelo trashidele shwe dri teyang dri tata tare tichin samsam namasanje pa kangri dina dri muso papa nyamni ke pa kangri chekri ore chuku kala kangri longko sanabde dri tukore dri tatan dri kamla dri saji chakja tabang usam beyala so 통치세 페르티 들이 페르티 지중 콜로고 산지가 된 말은 뭐지 이 마샤와다 이렇게 받치듯이 쌈좀 잡아 짜치 뭔데라 들리면서 들리는 파파토지 제목이 왕거고 고갑 고들 토파들이 라니니가 또 탐제서 남체 머리 들이대로 토마가 안 나오지
To all the Dharma friends in the Sangha who's joining us on the live stream, and with immeasurable love for all sentient beings, Dashidele to all sentient beings. And so today we're starting a very precious time of in a Buddhist a special day, special month, and so. In the Vajrakalaya practice, it says from the Dharmakaya, the grace of the Dharmakaya is the Sambhogakaya, and the blessing of the Sambhogakaya is the Nirmanakaya. And in this world, the Nirmanakaya, Buddha Shakyamuni, appeared directly as a human being that could be seen. And he turned the wheel of Dharma and he taught the precious teachings. And these teachings then spread around the world like the rising sun. And so this happened in this special month. And so for this reason, this time is extremely precious. And also, it is a great merit for yourself and also for myself, for others and oneself, that we have this opportunity today to confer and receive the empowerment of the great compassionate one, Chenrezig. And so in the beginning, therefore, we should all rejoice in that.
오 사지요 담이스로 소산을 드리고 바로 상지에 오늘 담이스로 소산이 가거든요 사례들이 심지를 사지에 송노르면 상지를 심지 사지를 심지 송노르 심지를 사지에 송노르 강의들이 이제 말에 배송을 해서 다다가 세분대로 날라더니 뭐 빨리 죽은 용데 사지에 다시 죽어를 놓는데 자타 비시는 것도 죽어를 놓은 죽은 남 같다 들어올라 팀로요래 들이 믿으로요 말 너지 장데 들이 디와니를 놓고 상서 들이 첨부도 빠들 디와 첨부요래 들이 앞에서 사제 첨부를 데라서 보는데 디와 첨부 디와니를 놓고 정데 첨 무슨 남이 제는 사제 첨부 그거 대선부터 섬묘를 되니 또 바트를 죽어줘지 생각도 바트를 죽어주고 아니 대화니를 놓고 정지 놓고 대화들이 삼체를 같이 보여래 대회는 들이다가 라탐지 삼바된 hin기를 지니 좋아하리 들이 생각하는 거 다 아주 샘줄 안지 되시나 들이 샘드 산지 인장 습지산 산지니서 사지 또 이제가 송아지 자그럼 너도 네 철에서 사실 좀 네게 돼서 말이 네네 대하고 그래지 네 가게 차통들은 나 이제 나진이지를 성요래 내려지 쳐대 자그럼을 성요래 강에 나디 됐더니 남주 상못다 그래 내려지 다다 드리텔 파산지스지 니성 초당처럼 니성 냠토당처럼 니도 빼세르더니 이때 자로도 쉬어버렸더니 다 좋으랬더니 쉬고래 이 생각난 거 좋으랬더니 사바다 hin기했다 그래 hin기했더니 산지 탐지했더니 사바다 hin기했더니 당고 산쪽 저도 톡디들 상지에도 산바다 hin기했더니 상지요래 이 데레들이 산쪽 저도 톡디들 이 라드 산바다 hin기는 거라서 소리 또 바빠지네서 그래 이제 저 바빠지네서 사탐지에 사탐지들이 빠다가 차디 오래된 메주다 쇼를 따면서 요거 때문에 탐지가 강내들이 들이 삼바다 hin기를 마티니 이 상기에 탑요 말이 탑요 말이 대회들이 다다 삼바다 hin기라도 딱 바빠지네서 대회들이 세배들이 사동 띵동 때라서 봐 빠티동 날 사동 콜로지가 자고 똥들이 들이 롱가다 쪽가 참에 버스지 동세에 발라 콩글라 와도 맥도 찍고 말이 세배리 성하다다 탑에 좀 봐서 들이 디왕되고 소에 대선지 사지 탐지가 톡 나더니 봐봐 끼래서 그랬더니 왕보요래 들이가 와서 보래
And so we tend to think that the Buddha is so precious. However, the Buddha is also so far away from us. And we speak about a Buddha appearing in every aeon, in every kalpa. And there is infinite Buddhas that appear in each of those aeons. So when we think of Buddha in this way, it seems that Buddha is something that is so far away from us. And so from on the one hand, there is this outer Buddha that appeared. So we can say, on the one hand, it is untrue because there was this Buddha who first cultivated the mind of bodhicitta, and then he accumulated merit throughout 3 endless aeons, and then he finally attained complete enlightenment. But now saying that he accumulated merit throughout 3 endless aeons, what does that actually mean? It is the motivation of bodhicitta. The Buddha arises from this mind. And so for this reason, often it is said that the Buddhas arise from sentient beings, through sentient beings, and then sentient beings arise also through Buddhas. And so Milarepa had said that from the state of non-conceptuality arises the Dharmakaya. And also it is said elsewhere that within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. So the Dharmakaya is the space-like nature of the mind. And the Buddha and all, in the end, dissolve back into this open expanse, the space of the Dharmakaya. So when one attains enlightenment, one dissolves into this space of Dharmakaya, but one does not just go out of existence. One becomes a Buddha, Vajradhara, and so one continues to remain. So from non-conceptuality arises the Dharmakaya, and then from bliss arises the Sambhogakaya, because first, the non-conceptual mind is indeed a very blissful state. Now, when we practice Mahamudra and similar practices, we experience great bliss within our minds. And from great bliss, it is said, Milarepa said, then the Sambhogakaya arises. So all of us who practice meditation, such as Mahamudra, we know about these meditative experiences that arise. There are basically 3: the experience of bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality or non-thought. And so from this non-thought, this non-conceptuality, arises the realization of the Dharmakaya. So this non-conceptual state is the thought-free mind. And the thought-free mind is blissful. And from that bliss then arises the Sambhogakaya. And bliss, or the Sambhogakaya, is also connected to love very much. So all the deities, therefore, arise really from a mind of love and compassion. Now, when we speak about the nature of the mind, so this is how I explain it. But first, how the Buddha said. The Buddha said that all beings are actually Buddhas. Although their mind actually is Buddha, they have not recognized that. And so my example is that even though sentient beings are Buddhas, their mind is like an ice block. And ice, so what the Buddha really is saying is that ice is actually water. So that is the point that we need to understand. And so it is this concept of a self, this perception of me, that has led to the perception of self and other, a dualistic existence. So ice has arisen from water because the weather has gotten cold. So it's just like that. So this is the relation between the Buddhas and sentient beings. It's just like ice and water, or like an ocean. And so if you want to melt the ice, you need heat. And the heat, the warmth within the mind is love and compassion. And that is where all Buddhas come from. That is really Buddha. That's why we say in the beginning, the Buddha cultivated the motivation of bodhicitta, and as a result of that, he finally attained enlightenment. So really the Buddhas arise from love and compassion, from bodhicitta, and that is the essence of the deity. And so which deity then is really the very embodiment of bodhicitta? It is the noble Chenrezig. And for this reason, it is also said that Chenrezig is the father of all the deities. So this is how I would put it in simple terms for those like myself who don't have so much learning. And so in any case, there is no way that we can attain enlightenment without love and compassion. And because this is the absolutely indispensable ingredient for enlightenment, it is, and Chenrezig is the embodiment of it. It is said that Chenrezig is the father of all the deities. And so one outer representation of Chenrezig is, for instance, the 1,000-armed, 1,000-eyed Chenrezig. And so this is how he appears to us as Sambhogakayam, arising from the expanse of the Dharmakayam. And so from the expanse of the Dharmakayam, there appear limitless forms of Sambhogakayas, actually, and of Nirmanakayas, all in order to benefit sentient beings. So that is really also what this image represents of 1,000 arms and 1,000 eyes. It is this limitless appearance to benefit sentient beings. So it's not simply something that has 1,000 eyes and 1,000 arms, but it's a symbol. It's symbolic of these inconceivable activities. And in the Vajrayana, in the secret mantra, this is a skillful method to introduce. And so today, this is the empowerment that we are going to receive, the empowerment of the noble Chenrezig, who really is an embodiment of all the Buddha's enlightened mind. We are indeed all very fortunate. And generally speaking, samsara is an ocean of suffering. But it is not necessarily a negative thing. Dzogchen Batu Rinpoche had said, I prefer not to be happy, and I prefer to suffer. Because when I'm happy, then when I suffer, then I purify. When I'm happy, when I suffer, then I am purifying my negative karma. And when I'm happy, the 5 poisons, the afflictive emotions, increase. So actually, from a Buddhist perspective, suffering has many good qualities. And in Buddhism, we are given a method to transform suffering into happiness. If we are not able to do that, then we will even turn happiness into suffering. Then everything becomes suffering. So basically, one cancels the other. If there's happiness, there's no suffering. If there's suffering, there's no happiness. But also what we do is that, so there is either a way to find happiness through suffering or to find sufferings even through happiness. And so in the Buddhist way, we turn our suffering into happiness. And so we will next read the history of this empowerment. And it's the story of Gelongma Palmo, who experienced much suffering and who practiced the deity Chenrezig. And also, she's really an Nirmanakaya who actually appeared in the human world. And then to her, the Sambhogakaya, Chenrezig, directly appeared. And through this story, we can understand that suffering is actually not a negative thing. It purifies our negative karmas and our obscurations. Also, Jigme Lingpa had said that suffering actually is like a stepping stone in our Dharma practice. And also Lord Chigden Sumgun, he also had the same illness as Gelongma Palmo, so he had leprosy, and finally he accepted. And it is through acceptance, really, that he ultimately then attained enlightenment. There's so many individuals who have attained liberation through suffering. Because sometimes the greater the suffering is, the more self-clinging actually becomes eliminated, dissolves. And self-clinging or self-grasping itself, that itself is actually what is suffering by nature. What is suffering is self-grasping. And so an intelligent person would recognize that and see that samsara is suffering. And the source of samsaric suffering is the self, is the grasping at a self. So such a person, through suffering, will be able to identify the self within them, the self-clinging within them. And in that way, it is really through their suffering that ultimately they will realize selflessness. So Gelongma Palmo also was such a practitioner who completely became liberated from her misery and finally in the end attained the rainbow body, the state of Vajrayogini. And so she's an actual Nirmanakaya who came in this world to benefit sentient beings, to give this method, to show this method of transforming suffering into happiness. So next, before the empowerment, I will first read the historical account of this empowerment.
대양 자정 도제 파모던 일만 집에더니 gelongma palmo 되니 어딘제 잡고 인다버지 세물 거청식 gond로 제tam 집에 제형 첫딩 첫딩베 날람데 라카르싱 버드 소나 렉 이버롱티 토경 야르시베 당대 라카르싱 버드 소네 기네즈 거니자베 체 거녀니 제히 마춘 들마도 이 좀베 교육 거니네 교육 거니네 노드 촉기송을 송송 송송 받더니 요건 날람데 파관으로 니지 얍 파관나무로 얘기 얍 인다 보들라 에라 볼리 잡지기에 오 파관나무로 얘기 얍 인다 보지 잡지기에 제시게 조제 테라피를 사갈 기내에서 배 롱마대의 풍부 롱마대의 퍼소나 바꿔 나서 결혼식 결혼식 요구를 제일 기내에서 당화 쉬라 로준이서 건나 내래 탈때 초경도 톱 지송의 어디에 어디지 가도 좀을 시바 용데 대단 제네 지네데 로준이스 드베 랭이 랑니 조세 체송에 카나니 타동징 르보 걸메시바 자노송하다 좀바지데 드베 넓정 말람데 어디지 카로마마고 동들하디 늘 만독발 칼싱버드 송라 드바 로준이 네 접당 로준이네 어디지 카드 좀 도지 파모 도지 파모 따오는 저로시 종에 뉴지 제신 걸머니베 점신네베 카로세다기 딱대 칼싱벨 제가 미니 세번몰 라카싱퍼스 우스 세요바다 델로 주니 저 파파 드바 파파 드베 름적 강 당니 마드프 사망보 샤르 자르세 야르제 지라 남칸이 오체 뭐제 소마나 게노메 공발라 네 다라 누지 적던도 왜 땡가 화이 나오고 도제 남카테 베슬라크린남 달 조카르 탐지 조카르노 탄을 받던 송화사 오글러예남 공부 도지스 오도테베 잠소 초전 톡 럽신 당 사냥 받고 독일의 신이 쏘았다베 어때 조 쭉쭉 사동 어디도 결과라 쏘와 내반 제정 다그 유능도 조 럽장 다 받을 샤 마석바 독일의 총시시버체 파고 샤네 초당보 르바티니 다 체제 정도 수모제 랭이지 르바 마다 berlinje 망통만 인송바 이 마치버 값을 동다선 파고 거에 매요 대비 제라 결혼만 뉴지 값을 뉴지 값 예, 서포스는 비트게 칼류당 칼류당 낙차 소 통리 도의지신 조금 럽탑대 럽탑 박상보다 탑지 줘봐 내내 얍잡불로 대통집에 살베체드 이랑거 워제지 남팔번에 디색주베 그 살 원자를 세디 밥 먹고 제 말이랑 잡아 되니 네 잡아 되니 제베 끼네도 기기서 나와 사와라 되니 네 다들 되니 다다 눈에도 니인데 다 타요리 누원 네베 초가 linjek sebe pingyang kapa jeshi ye dong de ban da ko song ba so che ba de pa kwa de ji ban ne pa pa ji ne de gerong ma pa mo pe de da da jo ne pe de da yi xi zhang bo pa bo pe nya wa sang se da wa jam sin sang se da wa jam sin ne pa pa chi de zhao ba如果到底家不想从张家可以在这往上升，得去让得去让上去，现在爸是他们要去送上往，我送上上不送上去大街，送那讲说这把送那么公干说这讲工作说，到人帮打了那啥的就讲说。이 시장도 로리 넘버 잡아가 왕처리 고상왕보 제왕으로 전에 생다 까마군차 주요 para nombo je tu peme jamsin teki mahamad rangzong chini no gachi tebe jamsin tsabar lama tete chuje lo du tanga tom chimi do jizani anta thoyo re tel tel ma so pa te tada lama ju lo ji yang te tsabar re te.
And the history in English. Indivisible in essence from Vajrayogini, Gelongma Palmo was the daughter of the king of Udayana, Indrapati. At a young age, she contracted leprosy, and once she had a dream in which she received the prophecy to travel to the Kasarpani jungle. She asked her father for permission, and he sent her off. When she arrived there, she came to a temple that was housing a Chenrezig statue. Although the gatekeeper didn't allow her to enter, the Chenrezig statue told her to stay outside the temple. One night she dreamt of a young boy that was actually her father. He said to her that her principal deity is Chenrezig and that she should travel to the east to find a monk who was an emanation of Chenrezig to receive his instructions on the practice of Chenrezig. The boy said that if she devoted herself to the practice of Chenrezig for 12 years, her illness would be cured. She would attain supreme siddhi and become the chief Dakini of Udayana. When she practiced Chenrezig at first, her sickness and pain increased. After 11 years, blood and pus were flowing from her mouth and nose, and she couldn't move her body any longer. Nevertheless, she persevered in practice. One night, she dreamt of many Udayana Dakinis who told her not to stay here, but to return to Kasarpani and practice there. And then they said she would become Vajrayogini for most of the Udayana Dakinis. Gelongma Palmo replied that she would not be able to go there because she couldn't move her body any longer. In her sleep, the Dakinis miraculously carried her off, and when she awoke, she found herself in Kasarpani. There she practiced Chenrezig for 12 years and progressively healed from her illness. Eventually, she began to see various other deities. Once she supplicated Chenrezig and a bright light appeared. She wondered what this might be, and then she beheld the 11-faced, 1,000-armed, 1,000-eyed Chenrezig. She said, "I have been practicing you for many years, waiting for you to appear, and only now can I see you. You surely have little compassion for me." Chenrezig replied, "I have been with you from the very beginning, from the time you started praying to me, but due to your obscurations, you were unable to see me." He showed her his robes, which were stained with all her blood and pus of many years. After that, she gave rise to trust and finally attained the supreme siddhi. To uphold the Siddha lineage, she took the Siddha Patsangpa as her consort. This was very upsetting to her father, the king, who developed many doubts. To dispel his doubts, she severed her own head, and casting it into the sky, she said, "If I have broken any vows, then my head shall not return, otherwise it shall." And so it did. Her head returned to her neck like before. Thus she became known as the Vajravarahi with the severed head. Chenrezig revealed to her the ascetic fasting practice of the 1,000-armed Chenrezig, and so this is where the tradition of the Nyungne started, and told her that one who engages in this practice for just a single time will purify all negativities and obscurations accumulated in 84,000 kalpas. So then after that, Rinpoche read the names of all the lineage gurus, and he said Rinpoche himself had received the empowerment from the Mahasiddha Jime Dorje.
콩 뇽니들이 네바에 먹가는데 카라타는 사냐메네 디갑들이 야미 나와들 뇽네데 뇽과는 네바들 네바들은 무슨 나타 매버 간다 담지가 되다다 땅아게를 대 공석라서 왔잖아요 양 네바들이 나타 매버 담지 네바 이 rumchu를 내리 대사들 니네데 니네 나다 마당 제발래 데이터는 되게 딱딱한데 로주데 망셰게 가시가 하고 말이지 로지들이 제사원지나 대다 왕진 같이 땅들이 다른 장에 제들이 좀 불가해서 박차죠마 내려들이 구성토 왕성 박차시 빠데 가리게 좋고 요리들은 박차 조사대 샘들 나오냐마 남카도 봤을 다음에 받아 나오냐마들이 그 빠져게 록타로 빠소로 버리 소로 들이 뒤들은 박차가리 저는 유몽 동아지 유몽도 되지 나진데 유몽은 되와 들이 때려 빠잡으면 대 양절 제어처럼 더 서로 양절은 콜롱디 랑가 제바라는 콜롱을 때문에 서쪽에 들어 잡기 얼마래 대 도움이들이 다다다 로아르도 거다 참 들량들이 애들 저도 샘 그런 데씩 뭐래 소연아들이 가까이 얼마래 샘진 남는 상계니서 대위 돈을 샘 잡아서야 대기지 뭐래 들이다당 것도 관건 것도 아이지.
And so what's the difference between the Nyungne and the Nyingne? So Nyung actually is an honorific word for being sick. And Gelong Mabalmo was very sick. And when she was very sick, she couldn't even eat anymore. And it was at that time of such hardship that she practiced. So that's where this term Nyungne comes from. So Nyung means to be sick and Ne means to abide or to stay. So she stayed with her sickness. And so basically, therefore, Nyungne also then means it's a practice that causes discomfort. And Nyingne, on the other hand, is the lighter practice that doesn't causes lighter discomfort. So the Nyingne practice, the vows are similar, but so we also remain in silence, but we can eat lunch, but not after midday. So there's less of a hardship. So that's the difference between the Nyingne and the Nyungne. And it's good for you to hear the history. Many of you might know it, but many of you might not know it, and I wanted to make it clear. And so now for the empowerment, the purpose of the empowerment, the 3 levels of empowerment of body, speech, and mind, is to purify the karmic imprints, the defilements of body, speech, and mind. So what is this imprint, and how do we place this imprint into our mind? So first of all, the place where we put imprints is our own mind. And the imprint ultimately is to see a self. There's this me. So mind actually is like empty space. So it is like beginning to perceive some entity that is a self within empty space, and that which doesn't actually exist. So these imprints is forming imprints or placing imprints in the mind is just like taking a picture or filming something with a camera and then storing it in the camera roll, and that's where it stays stored. So whatever imprints, whatever habitual patterns we are accustomed to, the 3 poisons, the various afflictions, each of these actions is like taking a picture that is stored in the mind. And then in future lifetimes, over and over again, the film that we have filmed ourselves becomes projected to us as our experience. And so therefore it's no one else that is really doing something for us or is counting our karmas, but it is naturally we're doing it to ourselves. Whatever imprint we put in our mind becomes projected back to us as our experience. And in this way we wander in the 6 realms of samsara until all karma has come to an end. When karma has come to an end, then there is still Buddha nature. And then we realize that we have never been separate from Buddha. That's why the Buddha himself said that sentient beings are actually Buddhas. So in brief, it's important that we purify the mind. And so now we will start with the empowerment.
Anarato me bawa sawa se me bai sawa kama sada me atadan chi angkoro hong ha 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 ho banga sawa tatan gatan be da ma me mta be da ba ma sama sa do o ma sawa da anga da be ki ga de sama jere ye hong o ma ha ya ja hong be o ma so ba jo do so ba jo da wa to ma le o ma so bo je ya no ya ja che wa na ja do ma o de jo wa la so ma to ma ta ja to ba me ba sa ba me be de wa che ba je che de ba na ma ta na ya ba jo ma ga ru ma ga ro wa do a ti ya ne be na de do ma o be so ma ga ru ma ga wa na ma na de na de do ma o be so ma ga ru ma ga wa na ma na de be na de do ma Mumbai Zova Namazava Gana Avalo, Pedime Sambara Sambara, Hong and Namazava, Avalo, Ganeme Sambara Sambara, Hong and Namazava Gana Avalogane, Ume Sambara Sambara, Hong, Jumara, Jimama, Sabala, Jimama, the Zambara, Sambara, the Jijima Conjamela, Sambala, the Jijima, Jabata, the Dragana. Samsalo kan yenga se mo jo ya juma no ga ja da so bo ja ni so da se je no ba na do ju che ke ba so ne da de da de la to ma ne do ja ja la hu da de je jo mo ju ban de yang ge ru la ni ba so ma jo da se je na pi be sem de je je ba je je da na ju ju je na je yang da da na to ma ju ju mo ko na ju mo ge lo ki je te ya ta de ya te se je mo ju ka me so da ko nya ji Ragadula pelo, Yinani Bama, Jom, Jimbo, Chongakalabe, Lilangamano Zebe, Netherlands, so Nether, you are so to La Dungula, Neseta, but Tatana, me, Omesomara, Mano, Rana Baya, and the whole Rang Poli want to Toga, and get someone you remember, you know what about your salon, so top to the Chucking Bavara to what the Dodge because of the end of the lobby water of your Dodge Saja. Log girls on them, the Dodge Charge, more than Saga Patan, the Dodge, so Dodge, so she be bone. Partame Maba to better not to borrow you, and then better about better. Beda better Takara Petal and get better than a shadow to come some on better than a Hong that is it. I mean, I can't jump outside the young character, somehow the Mirati, 3 kitchen already, but I mean, Anita, Jimele, Larata Sumbagati, Mirati, to that we need it in Yuri, tell me like that, and oh, I just had it on my bed on my Pogos hours, I'm telling them the Bachelori. Hey, Mary, son, long song, some Mirati, to il mirale che ti amici tutti mirate la proprio.
And next we come to the mandala offering. So we've already offered a mandala before. We offer one again. The mandala offering is really important in the Vajrayana, and we will recite the mandala offering according to Jetsimila Ripa's Guru Yoga practice, because the actual meaning of mandala offering is actually contained within that mandala offering. Most of the other mandala offerings, where everything is visualized as pure and nice, so makes us think that there's this pure ground, everything is pure, and so therefore I must offer something that's really pure, but actually not, because the mandala has an outer, inner, and also a secret aspect. And so that is explained very clearly in the mandala that we are going to recite. And this one is also related to actual practice.
the men the purple cups at any one long chiche can't capsule, Lama Kangi on that, give it on that, take up the give it telatini, soap to Sanjay Sancho, so you go so some the summer sangayo, got a get you some jet sangayo, some time jet sangayo, total Sanjay Tamjet sangayo, sana, repeat the vachebority, chess and have a chair do your they say, oh, the Lama Kaka so sorry, the Saga, the Gerogritin of Sangatini, Telecun Cheboyore, that are Masambaki Chemboyore.
And so also whenever we offer a mandala, whether it is when we receive an empowerment or a transmission or a Dharma teaching, and no matter who is the Lama or the Guru, the spiritual teacher who gives those teachings, when you offer the mandala, you should think that that spiritual teacher embodies all the Buddhas of the 10 directions. And also, all the 3 jewels are complete within this teacher. And that is the Sangha is complete within the body, and all the Dharma teachings are complete within the speech, and the mind of all the Buddhas is complete within his mind. If you think in this way, then the practice will be much more powerful, and the blessings of the Dharma will increase more and more. So otherwise, if you think that every Lama, every teacher is a separate individual, and then you think that, oh, he is from the Saga and he is from the Gelugpa and so on, thinking that way actually is a huge fault. It's important that you don't think that way.
In the Yellow Prayer Book on page 7, Mandala Offering. An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in time to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine, by offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping, completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and concepts of arising, cessation, and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The Supreme Mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may I be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Deva Dakini Ratna Mandala Pratija Svoha.
Ni Baba Chenrezig zo yimbe tene namkakara jesum sanje samje tene phungzage tapyo tene didani tene wangsho yo de wangsan habyan tene ni ju tamchela namkada tumbadan jasung taw tene chapaba taw tokyo ta ngala baba chipor samo tamado etesa samo tango eje.
And now imagine that in the space before you, in front of you, appears the noble Chenrezig in the center, and think that he is surrounded by all the Buddhas of the 3 times, gathering around him like clouds, and think that in their presence you receive the empowerment. And also then later when you receive the empowerment, think that the blessings of the empowerment permeate the entire universe and all sentient beings. And just like rain falling down from the clouds in the sky, or like rainbows appearing in the sky. So don't think that the empowerment is you only receive the empowerment through the vase that I place on your crown.
Padli lame kadin chi dala jinang sardoso.
And in English, all the Buddhas of the 3 times, and the glorious Guru, who in essence is the favored deity, please grant me the empowerment. So then next, please repeat the supplication prayer, which is called the 5 purities, where we take refuge in the 3 jewels, we confess all negative deeds, we rejoice in the virtues of others, and we cultivate the bodhicitta, and we dedicate all these virtues for the enlightenment of all beings. So please repeat the following.
Da Jamji, Dekpa Mege, So Sha, Rove Gela, Ji Rang, Tangye Tangche, Yi Ji Zong, Tangye Chudan, Som Chola, Changche Parde, Da Jamji, Rangjin Thoni, Rabdrap Sir, Tanchap Semne, Kiparje, Tanchap Choga, Semne Jibjine, Semjin Samje, Daki Ronda Nier, Jancho Chungcho, Yong Jeparji, Rola Pinser, In
English, I take refuge in the 3 jewels and confess all evil and non-virtuous deeds. I rejoice in the virtues of all beings and will hold the Buddha's awakening in mind. Until attaining awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly in order to fully accomplish the purpose of others and myself. I give rise to bodhicitta. Having given rise to the mind of supreme awakening, I welcome all beings. I will practice the supreme bodhisattva conduct that is pleasing to all. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings.
Do Jin Zhen Ba Gong Se So Da Nian Zhuo La Pei Dong De Zuo Qin Chu La Song Zep Ji Cha Jie Yi Xi Ji De So.
So then in English, switching texts. So, okay, oops. Vajra holder, please heed me. For the benefit of beings, I supplicate you, exalted one, please cause the wisdom mudra to arise. So that's for the form empowerment.
Teri da sanji ko cheram tamchen da rang lai shi le da chimbo yore teri tereng ge shi le lai dongba de gna teri la tani jawo song tin kan bi jung be teri jo rang zong a di de ne sa ji kan nyam cha song teri la yang teri sa so teng tang bo che di ni sa wa chen ko ba shi je le 디바들이 디시레데 디네도 다 시레다 말이 또 디시레데 참여 다작한 랑들이 흥망한 거 니가 봐만 뭐 표현으로만 탄제라 이쪽가 하자서 아치 버리더니 디시레데 양 셈을 셨나 라이지는 들사고 연구열이 되는지 그런 거 봐도 하자서 아치 버리 다음에 저거랑 좀 가진 거 봐야지.
For the generation stage, the visualization of a deity, most important is the deity's face. And so therefore also today we will display the face of Chenrezig. And this particular face of Chenrezig, this image comes from the time of the Dharma king Songtsen Gampo, who set up the self-arisen Jovo statue, and then it remained set up in this way until the Cultural Revolution, and during that time it was taken down and demolished, and later it was reinstated. And actually, in the very beginning, when it was just there reinstated again, I was able to secretly have someone snuck in and take a picture of it. And so this is the picture that I've been offering to my disciples many years ago, since many times. I've offered many of these pictures to you. And you can receive this picture, can download it from the internet. And it's an extremely precious image of Chenrezig. And this is how he should appear in your mind. It is the face that you should look at and have appear in your mind. And if that face appears in your mind, then your generation stage practice, your deity practice, will become very clear. So this picture of Chenrezig's face is extremely precious, and I encourage all of you to use this as your main support of visualization.
나다 예미 봐 샤데미 티가미 오가 됐다 이 콩됐다 이거 말이 이게 그만 학장선업 짜치 머리 이제까지 일하는더니 사당 시합 탐지라 귀치무요 네 너무한테 sem을 샤더니 저기 요래지.
And so when you practice the generation stage, the visualization of the deity, you look at the image of the deity, and then you recognize this is the deity. But then we don't even have to think about anything like that. You don't have to think in terms of, oh, this is the deity, this is a Buddha, and that's me. I'm looking at it. So don't even think in this dualistic way at all. Don't think about anything at all. Just without any thought about it, single-pointedly have it appear in your mind. And your mind is like a mirror. And in that moment, what appears to your mind is your own mind. So a deity is your own mind. So when you realize that your own mind is like a mirror, you realize that the image appearing in your mind, the Buddha, is inseparable from yourself. You are inseparable from the Buddha, from the deity. So don't think in terms of this is me and that's the deity, that's him, and so on. Don't think anything at all. So this image of Chenrezig is extremely precious. The face is very important. Chenrezig's arms and legs and all of that is not that important. It's enough if just the face clearly appears in your mind.
하야지와 홍배 어머서바 와주다 사와다마서바 와주다 왕 뽑은강에 밤에 빼만 밤에 빼마다 아래 别忙的嘛，就别对吧？那都是，这些物件从的世界别嘛是，世界别嘛对吧？是七八的了，我这家就大家把这嘛去，上街上桥什么东西，他们用着就把嘞。其他人跑进来的，工作都干的话，他搞下就这个咋下干了？咋下干了？用也讲用嘛，这个下怎么用？讲嘛搞这这个下怎么搞讲话这那么现在下怎么？그 분야에 대해서 초기셔를 따스를 진행도 하지 못해도 사실 어바면지 사람아 뭐 독도로 당대바 사 안부여서가 사모자와 예니 제니 배 정화요 배 선배 조기자 다른 애들들 저바 배에 다져서 가지고는 걸로 용이 배마가 와서 맞아 선배로 와셔로 이제 배 남겨서 뭐 살아 급자다 그래서 이 조기저 사전 넘었잖아 산제 탐제제 사 탐제제들 지레레 당저 장원이 잡아서 이제 레사베 샹탑 나다다 저와베 나마요 바가바르 보제제 탐제제 나마르베 테베요도 뭐제 와도 메마토 거기 저 엄지바 저거 홍어 저거 다우트 저거 우서 다우트도 셔데리我这边长期间呢，我把他这个西吧，做些什么创业，这我都听了看完不把它其他弄了，是的，他妈就我们阿瓦老个就是他把没到什么样子，叫那阿维家呀妈呀，瓦老个就是他把没到什么样子，叫那阿维家呀因为西巴的呢，上桥把这边两条电板上面都电板进去，地产名字，我就他讲就在这边玩个烂，我今天在那，家娃人嘛，可能就把我们这什么子。我们在不往这的说话，我们在往这的说话，我们在俄罗斯这的说话，我们在个这我们在那边这也说话，多这就他这样说就别去，用的就在这浪这都说，说嘛能得一记的说，就能滚过，头节金。跟着插背，一起街，趟街马路，转街吧，打扫生意，拉的说。
Compassionate protector, embodiment of all pervasive wisdom, who liberates all beings. Without exception, please grant me your blessings.
저는 저서 과에 보다 보면 로마도 저도 자기 버디라 정말 내가 로마도 걸어도 있잖아. 이게 봐가 봐서 저 생기랑 얘기해도 되게 거 어떻게 요한을 보면 원거서 뭐 봐도 이제 어디라도 봐서는 과에 저도 과에 얘가 그래서 엄마 저와서 다른 거다 앞에 그거서 정말 이래요. 호가서 와도 그다 백회가 돼서 마야 저래요. 무슨 와도 Abeke de Samaya Jere almost water, Abeke de Samaya. Jere almost water, Abeke de Samaya Jere. Abeke de Samaya Jere almost one. He de Samaya Jere almost one. Abeke de Samaya Jere almost one. Babagaba Beke de Samaya Jere. Samaya Jere. One comes to Mata, Lama, Jinzo, Cherwani, Chetabami, Tavam, Juba, another is Rimjo, Tabaranam, Nana, you not on the Juba, Jimbaroja, the Sound, Joko, when I give a Chana Jabba, to remember, I don't miss some Tati, no, there's Jesus now, a little one is about to wrap up chat, there's a cave at that. Go a Jesus now, my river top. This I care and not on some dogger and Magombala one. They were took us about Kapaki to say, by you know.
Being thus initiated, the karmic imprints and defilements accumulated with the body and all grasping at them are purified, and you have received a complete form empowerment. You are now empowered to practice the generation stage of visualizing your body as the deity, the union of appearance and emptiness. As a result, you will have the fortune to accomplish the Nirmana Kaya.
So good, you know, so what about the Do Jin Zimba Gong So Dani Rola Pindun De Maji Wangor Ishi Che Mujapterwa Balato.
And for the speech empowerment, please repeat. Vajra holder, please heed me. For the benefit of beings, please grant me the great wisdom of the mantra empowerment, which is the source of all accomplishments.
O mani pe me hong, o mani pe me hong, o mani pe me hong, o mani pe me hong je. Mi ande ji do Choling, Bagi, Zong La Chi, Bala, Niwar.
Conqueror, as I have become your disciple, please take me under your care. And I think that a rain of mantra syllables falls down and melts into the entire universe, yourself and all beings, and think that all sound has become the sound of, or transforms into the sound of the Mani mantra. Being thus initiated, the karmic imprints and defilements accumulated with the speech and all grasping at them are purified, and you have received the complete speech empowerment. You are now empowered to recite the deity's secret mantra, the union of sound and emptiness. As a result, you will have the fortune to accomplish the Sambhogakaya.
라양 토끼지 난가도 소와지 반데 얘기도 도제 zemba gonsoso 다네 로라 빈동도 바워도제 롭부지 롬조땡지
Then to receive the mind empowerment, please repeat. Vajra holder, please heed me for the benefit of beings. Courageous Vajra master, please cause the samadhi of the supreme mind to arise. Being thus initiated, the karmic imprints and defilements accumulated with the mind and all grasping at them are purified, and you have received the complete mind empowerment. You are now empowered to meditate on the nature of the deity's mind, the union of clarity and emptiness. As a result, you will have the fortune to accomplish the Dharmakaya. And so for the mind empowerment, in the Mahamudra teachings it says, without a single thought, decisively look at your ultimate nature. So when mind looks at mind itself, and there is not a single thought in the mind, that state naturally, that natural state of mind is like space. And that is called the basis or the ground. And that ground is your Buddha nature. It is Buddha. So it is within that nature that you come to naturally abide if you do not cling to the thoughts in your mind. So if there are no thoughts in the mind, then you naturally rest within this space-like state, the natural state of your mind. And so during the mind empowerment, it is taught that we should rest within a state of meditation. So this is the state that we should rest within. Also in the Mahamudra teachings it says, when mind looks at mind, the multitude of thoughts ceases and you see the nature of the mind. So that is really it. So if you wonder what is the nature of the mind is just like space, and it transcends all concepts of being this or not this, existence and non-existence. It is the thought-free natural state. Milarepa said that. Milarepa said that when you realize that mind is inseparable from space, then you have seen the Dharmakaya. So whenever you see the space-like nature of the mind, that is when you see the Dharmakaya. When you heard the first gong, all thoughts have dissolved together with the sound, and there was no thought. And then you rested in that state. And then with the second gong, again, you arise. And so we should again arise and enter into the Hong, or visualizing the Hong. And so the mind should rest within a meditative state of Hong. That's really the essence of all meditation practice. So these two gongs represent the dissolution and then the reappearing. At this point, you should eat a blessing pill, a mani pill, of any lineage, any kind of blessing pill, and visualize that inside of that pill is a Shri syllable, which is Chenrezig syllable, or you can also visualize a Hung syllable. So now please eat such a blessing pill.
당디 다 와서 담책을 정시 바들이 드니 새 구독을 sla리리 저 sla망보 요리 옛날 드니 나는 슬라 탐지 투소 들어가리 대사로 상거리 슬라 탐지 이제 투소 산지 탐지의 소년 돈담을 된바 자다 셈사도 죽어들이 얘가 죽어든 통 두고 말이 죽어든 통고는 드니 딱강에 삼지 다 삼지 삼바든지 삼지를 용띠 가리는 삼지 가디샬라 주 나요 말이지 나 가디샬라 들 삼지요 말이 대회는 즉시적으로 했더니 코스와 나디에 제만을 비서는 코스지 이제 다서는 남도 영데 남도 지와가 남도 통화도 나만들이 대하고는 참지 이제 다 삼바든 이제 기초로 삼바 재미기 기초버려 이게 홍근의 소비사 적극적인 사제 탐지게 톡나 대로 요리 수고는 좋다 봐요. 드리테가 다 왕소 탐색들 삼바탕 hin지리 다다 무서라는 그 삼태게 나도 코를 강화지하고나데 탐지들이 다다 삼태대 왕소 탐색이 탐색은 진 장로도 쇼거로 삼지 두고 쇼거래 드리 주다도 삼태이 다다 왕대가 접종 드리 탐색에 드리 라기네도 캐리리 요리인데 기네스 기파데 길이도 샘도 가리리 딱 그러면 세지 기네도 sak동계 동도 잘로 커대나 다 순하고 좋고요 다 길이도 커대요 그러면 동다 세부들이 나기 이디 다 그거요 말이 너는 삼바체니 기체 모르대 담책고도 담책 삼바체니래지 이 동다고 삼책 이디메 베세데 대라브리 대 technically 고면들이 사기통진지가 타받치면 도는 손을 탁직상 뛴 퇴존 가슴 가면 만나면 소시면 동체성 하자 비용이 뭐 가슴 생기는 소리를 해서 비용이 이 제가 다 왕접성
At the end, as there is Samaya, and keeping the Samaya is the life force of the empowerment. And so on the outer level, there are many different deities that appear separately. But what we really need to think about and recognize is the life force, the heart or the mind of the deity. So that life force, what is that life force, which is the heart of the Buddha? It is the ultimate truth too. So on the ultimate level, it is the clear and empty mind, and the Dharmakaya. However, we are not able to see the Dharmakaya. In order to see the Dharmakaya, we need to cultivate love and compassion. The quality of that is the power of cultivating love is that when love arises, then there is no concept of a self. And when you think of yourself, then true love cannot arise. So one cancels out the other. And the root of samsara is self-grasping. Milarepa also said that samsara has no characteristics or a basis or a root. If it had one, it is just the thoughts arising in the mind. And that thought ultimately is this very first thought that always arises of me, I. And so for this reason, for all of you, it's very important to cultivate immeasurable love and compassion. And that is the heart, the mind of all the Buddhas of the 3 times and 10 directions. It is also represented by the syllable Hung. And also it is the most supreme protection sphere. So the life force of the empowerment is the Samaya, and the Samaya is love and compassion. And it is to cultivate it directly. So to give love to others, those who are around you, and who also care about you. So that love, that is the life force of the empowerment or the Samaya. And it's that love is the warmth that will melt the ice block. The warmth is love. So that completes the empowerment. And so in the end of the empowerment, we have taken this samaya. And even though in the text it says that we take a commitment toward Chenrezig specifically, but what's important to recognize here is what is Chenrezig's mind. That is what you need to recognize. That's the deity. Even if you were to carry Chenrezig on your back with his 1,000 arms and 1,000 eyes and 11 heads, there might be some merit to it because you're thinking, I'm carrying Chenrezig on my back, but still, you are not actually purifying these defilements of dualistic grasping at self and other. So to purify that, the relative samaya is love and compassion, and the ultimate samaya is to be free of dualistic grasping. And that's actually the best, the supreme samaya. And that samaya really is encompassed by meditation practice. The Buddha said in the Great Liberation Sutra, he said that it is of a greater benefit to spend a single session in meditation than it is to save the lives of all the sentient beings in the 3 realms of samsara. So the benefits of meditation are actually inconceivable. So this completes the empowerment.
소주나 육배 상제당 상접선바 감제라라 공소소 다라랑 시제외 균전의 송대这是상총宁波啦시제바더 라팍바지레세 예담자사종생 제이종하 니네제더 진리스다와죠.
All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas residing in the 10 directions, please heed me from today onwards until attaining the essence of enlightenment. I will take up the exalted deity, Noble Chenrezig, as my yidam, and I will recite his mantra daily to whatever extent I am able. Dashidele to all the Dhamma friends who were able to join the live stream for today's empowerment of the Noble Chenrezig.
Vietnam 그 주소가들이 고백나와 들이 돌지는 못했다 로마타지 들이 같이 가지고 고백해 받았더니 하자 핀받지 뭐 요리 도가가니 뭐 주에 등가 가지고 고백나와 들때서 과탐제 통지 고백나와 통지지 들이 자시들이 소리.
Also I would like to thank the Vietnam Center who organized this empowerment, and also Garchen Rinpoche and all the disciples who joined the empowerment, because this empowerment is extremely important, beneficial, because the the antidote to suffering is the Dharma. And so therefore, thank you to the organizers and everyone who has joined this empowerment, Tashi Delek.
On behalf of the organizer, Drikung, Garchen, Phuntsok, Choling, and on behalf of all participants of the second online 100 million money retreat, we would like to say Tashi Delek and thank you, Garchen Rinpoche, so much for your boundless compassion to bestow us 1,000 armed Chenrezig empowerment. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow to receive the precious teachings on 4 yogas of Mahamudras. So everyone, now you please can turn on your video and audio to say thank you to Garchen Rinpoche.
드린다다 다참만이 차다와들들이 드리니를 줘봐 니네서 눈에 줘봐 도지지 드리 나양들이 눈에를 족독한다고 됐더니 양 고소설비게 다가 니네 제네들이 나양 좋고요 나양 게다고 그래도 같이 보리 드리 나양들이 니네를 좋고요 드리까지 될 마음으로 이제
And thank you for practicing the Nyingne and the Nyungne now during the Dawa month. And I myself also want to really join that, but now everybody is worried about me, so therefore I will at least join the Nyingne, if not the Nyungne, because I also need virtue. I need virtue because I have a lot of evil. I have done a lot wrong, and so for this reason, I'm also going to join the Nyingne. Many dashi dele to you.
Janjo semjo Rinpoche maje banai jijo jeba nyama me baya kong le kong de bewa jo ni la pa chulo la ba ta dong ma thong pe ji bo song song je a de yang de nu bo dan chi ma le xin le ni so ma nu ba ta de yun bo ma thong ni deng mo song thong a wu so thong go yo ge guan mu su ko le de ga di yin la yo le de de je se me le to ji de long ko ta chu ko ge mo tin de ta le tali gyuli de takpon te ni ga mare ti tali dome yo gore tali ko ke de junde yo le so takpon thoya yo le tali da ta Dawa me ba yo le tali thame te ta tor ja ngang.
And I'm so happy today to see the faces of all my Dharma friends, and also because I have some attachment to seeing you, because I haven't seen my older disciples for such a long time. But on the other hand, we should also consider that what we see today on the screen is the real seeing. We see our real form and we hear our real voice. Real because it will always be there. You can always see it on the video, on the recording, and you can always hear the voice. That's the meaning of when we say, may I attain the body, the Vajra body beyond birth and death. And that is the quality of the Dharmakaya and the Sambhogakaya. Don't grasp too much at the illusory material body. That will only lead to suffering. On the screen, that voice is always there and the form can always be seen. So in this way, we are always inseparable. Remember this.
Thank you. Come on. Everybody Saga, come on.
Thank you.
So much, Rinpoche.
Online
Rinpoche, thank you so much. Thank you, Dozen Rinpoche.
Yes, it's got a voice.